back to another LinuxGameCast Weekly, the show that covers the latest Linux gaming news, reviews, how-tos, and most importantly, whatever the hell else we come up with. This week, flight gear mixed with the updates. Now everyone can crash a space shuttle. GOG releases a Steam competitor that doesn't run on Linux. And zombie goats, where Ba meets brains.
Steam Linux usage bottoms out at 0%. We're just fucking with you. And quit your crying. Cryengine finally gets an OpenGL renderer. And Facebook peers through the rift and finally gives a release window for the Oculus.
The creators of Flashout bring another mobile game to Steam. Remains to be seen how this will affect their track record. Reality Pump, it's closing down. No, it's not. Wait, it is. No, it isn't. I'm confused. Southeast Asia gets yet one more MOBA under their flag. Looks like someone in Singapore is looking at population control.
I'm Vince Stone here at LGC Actual, joined every week by Massa Sveng and Canadia and hot, sticky, Canadia. It's brilliant. And all the way from Space Portugal.
Hola. To the way.
Ayers and Shatrealm Dynamic joining us every week for this nightmare fuel that we call Linux Gamecast Weekly. Before we get started, let's see what's going on in each other's life. Organs, J-Man, you just win this week. You golden ticket.
Oh yeah, no, it's fun fucking tastic. All right, let me tell you a story. It's 30 degrees here in Toronto. It's balmy, centigrade, of course, not Fahrenheit. Mm-hmm. So I decided I'm going to go out and I'm going to purchase myself an air conditioner for this little room I'm in because I got to wear wizard robes for the review and they don't breathe. So I'm going to fucking die in 30-degree weather in here. So I go to the store. I pick out a 6400 BTU air conditioner. Seems like a reasonable price, $200. It will fit through my window. Bonus soda. So I bring it home, open it up. Lo and behold, where I thought I would see an air conditioner, I actually see a recycling bin filled with blankets, a radio flashlight, and a brick.
So you got a zombie survival airdrop.
Yes, as opposed to the air conditioner. So I spent my afternoon, instead of playing GoatZ, I was on the phone with Canadian Tire, trying to figure out, you people sold me a lie. I want my money back, and I want you to pay for my fucking time and grief. Oh yeah, we can give you a $10 gift card. That's the best we can do. Yeah, fuck you. You're not getting my business anymore. So, official LGC recommendation: never shop at Canadian Tire again. Your refrigerator or your storage unit or your air conditioner may just turn out to be a brick.
B-Man, what's
up?
That
was the MacGyver version. That was the MacGyver version of the air conditioning. Yeah.
No, it's great. You just bash yourself on the head with the brick until you don't feel cold or you don't feel hot anymore.
Yeah, the week for me was basically just work. It was actually one of the busiest weeks I think I've ever had at the office, so there's that. Didn't play a hell of a lot of games.
All right, that's brilliant. The only thing I ran in... the Ubuntu, which is our production box. I mean, we just leave it alone as 1404 LTS and just do the standard updates. I've had Foxfire installed on it just as a third browser with Chrome and Chrome Beta. Foxfire always had like this little millisecond, and I was like, oh, that's probably just how it is. It's not my primary browser. And I got thinking about it, and I did a search, and I was like, oh, slight delay with Foxfire. Da, da, da. Turns out the damn thing shipped with IPv6 enabled. So it was trying that address, then it would fall back to IPv4. So I wanted to fix that and everything works. And I was like, why the hell? I mean, yes, we're eventually all going to get there, but why would you ship that enabled? I don't know. But
academia.
One thing I do know, J-Man, that's our horse is all sticky and balmy and ready to go.
Oh, yeah, no, our horse doesn't have a brick in its box. Does have a brick in its head, though, because it's our Steam update.
Sky's falling. We're dead. All right. Shut the door on your way out.
All right, yeah. All right, yeah, so Steam Linux usage is at an all-time high. No, it's not. We were above 1%. We seem to have dropped below we have dropped to 0.94%. Yeah, 0.94 for a second there. I thought this was 5 on Vince's little screen. Yeah, so, there's people who are saying, oh my god, Linux is finally, people are realizing they don't want to use it and going back to Windows. No, so here's what happened. Number one, you don't really. I personally have not run into this issue, but I know Pedro and Ben have. They never get Steam hardware surveys. I get one once every like 3-4 months. So I fill it out, submit it, do my duty for the Linux gaming community. These guys, I think you've only gotten one, Ben?
One, and the only time I've ever received a survey, and what Steam's been out since 2012.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Was when I was doing a wine how-to. So I installed Steam with wine, and it popped up under the wine version. I was like, that's...
Pedro, when was the last time you got a
like,
survey?
Yeah, I got 1-2 years ago. I was still using Fuduntu.
And so another thing that would contribute to the drop in Linux usage over the past month is the fact that there have not really been any high-profile games coming out on Linux aside from BioShock Infinite. And I struggle to call that a Linux game. And also, there were a number of high-profile Windows games that dropped in the past month. GTA 5 was one of them. What was one of the other ones, Pedro?
I honestly can't remember right now.
GTA 5 is certainly a big one.
Yeah, that's the big one.
All the dual booters would be swapping over to their Windows machines, or their Windows partitions, to play some GTA 5 goodness. And Pedro, you had something about the statistics as well.
Yeah, what most people seem to forget is that while the Linux percentage has dropped, if you take into account that when we had like 1.5%, Steam was only reporting around 70 to 80 million active accounts. Now, they say that they have around 125 million active accounts. So 0.94% of 125 million is still 1.175 million Linux accounts. I don't know about you, but to me, that actually looks like the Linux numbers are increasing.
Yeah, well, like Mark Twain said, there are 3 types of lies. Lies, damn lies, and statistics. Up next!
Black Mesa in the works for Linux. Yes, it's not here yet.
Black
And
Mesa, I've never heard of it. What is it?
It's the remake of the original Half-Life in the Source engine. Not Gold SRC, but actual Source. There was the Half-Life Source that Valve did themselves, but they just ran it.
They didn't really.
They just ran the old
over.
assets. Yeah, they just ran the old assets on the new engine. This one, they reworked everything. They actually have voice acting. They reworked all of the voice acting basically, and it kind of sort of works.
Well,
for what it is.
I mean, I'm fine with it because I mean it's a free mod, right?
Yeah.
No.
What is this? This is early access.
Welcome to the club. Yeah.
19.9 wet sticky cash. But it was free, and I am gonna rage. Okay, here's definitely my take on this. Okay. I'm all for getting paid for this because they have put an enormous amount of work in this.
Like a lot.
Right, and you can...
They made a full game.
Right. And you can always go back and download what they had worked on earlier. But everybody's just flipping their shitlids about this. They should get paid. $19.99 might be a bit steep. My only thing is, this has been in development for 5 years. How do you really have the testicular fortitude, possible show title, to put this on early access, Brad? Anybody got a response to that?
They say in the Steam store page, they say, why early access? And the second paragraph says, in addition, our ambitions go beyond the original Zen chapter as found in Half-Life. We have a standard of quality that we have to achieve. Early access allows us to commit resources to bringing you the remaining chapters with the quality that you expect. So yeah, they want to finish the game.
Well, they want to finish the game and then some. But you might be asking, well, what about a Linux version? How about that?
Yes.
So they say one is coming. It is in the works, just like how, I don't know, the Stanley Parable Linux port is in the works.
Yeah,
I think they're going to have a hard time not releasing this for Linux. So we'll.
I mean, is it a standalone now, or is it still essentially a glorified mod?
It's a good question. I do not know.
No idea. There's no Linux version for me to try yet, so...
Right.
So send your hate mail. Go to linuxgamecast.com/contact and correct us.
Now, something that might never get released. You know this. We like to call it our Duke Nukem Forever. It is our own Duke Nukem Forever of Linux gaming. That's Overgrowth. It's been in development for 6+ years. And, well, they said, not on their latest, but about 2 shows ago, because they do a weekly show, like, yeah, we were thinking about switching to a different engine, which I just lit up, and I'm like, that'll just add more credibility to our Duke Nukem Forever analogy, because that's what they did. But in the latest version of their episode, they're like, oh, we're not sure one way or the other, and if you don't know about Overgrowth, well, that's just a thing. What do you guys?
It's from Wolfire Games. It's the sequel to Lugaru, if you remember that from the first Humble Indie bundle. Basically, you play a rabbit and you run around killing other rabbits for $30.
Right.
Yeah, $30 for early access. A game which has been in development for how long now?
About 7 years.
Since the first Humble bundle, at least. Yeah.
Around that time, yeah. You know, speaking of games that aren't coming out and ones that are coming out but perhaps should not, we have Spellcrafter from the fine folks at Jujubee Games. It comes a game that if it wasn't for the blue and black backdrop that you see on the Steam store, I could swear those screenshots were just screaming, "You're on the Android Play Store, motherfucker!" But no, it is very much on Steam. It looks like a hack and slash.
It's
Diablo
Mega Man
type
Battle
thing
Network
with some magica elements to it. Yeah.
Well, you don't even need a video card. You just cram
that.
a fucking stick of RAM in your PCI Express slot.
Find an old video card, snap off your GDDR memory, and just put it.
You don't even need an operating system. It runs
But
itself.
in all honesty, the guys from Jujubee did send us 3 keys, so stick around. We might throw chairs at it next week.
It's got a price on it. It's not too bad, but I mean, it's right there with the mobile. Currently 20% off. It's RPG goodness. Yeah.
It's Mega Man Battle Network. That's what I see when I look at the trailer.
It's a turn-based hack and slasher at most.
Mm-hmm.
But imagine a world full of guns. This is World of Guns, Disassembly. Not so much a game. This is... If I were going to call it anything, I would probably call it Gun Simulator. It is a collection of very high detail 3D gun models that you can learn how to disassemble, field strip. They have a couple settings, and it basically just runs you through how the gun is constructed, how it works, how it fires. If you're a gun fan, this is definitely a game for you, though.
And it's not just guns. You
guns,
also get
rocket
cars.
launchers.
You get cars, and I think I remember reading something. Oh yeah, there's skeletons. There's
several things, but I mean, it's priced to sell. It's currently free to play.
It's cheap as free, man. It's pretty good. Yeah.
And things like this. I mean, I was like, I don't understand why I would ever want to use this.
It's Universe Simulator for gun nuts.
I really like things like this because you never know when you're going to be in a situation where breaking down a gun might be needed, or a skeleton, cannibalism and all that. I mean, for the same reason I've memorized the startup and takeoff procedures for the A-10 Thunderbolt 2. You never know when you're going to be in that situation. But it's free. It's kind of DLC-ified, like 104.9.
Yeah, that's the thing. The free game has a couple of
some train simulator level of DLC right there.
They're not even dancing around that. You can get the executable, but if you want to do anything interesting with it, about 104.93 wet stinky caches.
But if you like the pew pews, check it out.
Yeah,
you might get a kick out of it.
Well, if you like the Bob-O's.
Oh yes.
Oh, look, it's the Stevie Nicks simulator. It's back.
Stevie Nicks. She looks so beautiful now. GoatZ, or as I think everyone in the interwebs is calling it, GoatZ. Look that up. It's right up there with the Lemon Party if you're unhappy with your current political.
GoatZ.cx.
Now, this is $4.99. It's DLC, but we'll talk about this later in the review section. These guys don't understand what DLC means. Their idea of DLC is let's just create a whole new game. And you got MMO for free. Basically, you're a zombie goat. You can play before everything gets zombified, walk around, you can infect, then it'll flip over. Then it works into a crafting, horror, survival, goat simulator, fuck around, have fun with it.
It's always fun to explore the new levels that they send out. We're throwing chairs at it later on in the episode, so definitely stay tuned. We'll give you the full breakdown on that. But I think that wraps up the Steam Linux news. Coming up next, we are not releasing this podcast on Linux.
If you've been paying attention to Chat Realm right down there, you can see that we are dicks. But we're not here to talk about that. We're here to give you the news. But before we get to that, we've moved the little Patreon bits of the week a little earlier this week. So we'd like to throw out a big thanks to Frederick Solstad and Mr. Orn from Chat Realm. Yes, the guy that just claimed that we...
Islam.
Yeah, we are dicks.
Guy talking about
that
dicks
guy.
Down there, down there in the little chat bubble there. So thank you very much for your contributions. As always, you can find us at patreon.com/LinuxGameCast. We got some lovely milestone goals. We do have to record a Trine episode. We're going to do that next week, and we are about $20.93 away from having to record a Portal episode a month. So that will be good. Watch Ven and I kill each other as we attempt to cooperate and solve complex tasks. It should be good TV.
I mean, it helps keep the show going. I mean, we always said, you're thinking about it, it's like, they're going to go on anyway. Well, it really does come down to, this is how we gauge how many people give a damn about what we're doing. And if it dries up, maybe we're going to do something else. But we are planning... We're actually doing more how-tos, and we have another show now, the Linux Early Access Busted Ass.
The Busted Ass Early Access show,
Early Access.
Yes. We did Spore recently.
Rolls off the tongue.
Or we did, not Spore, we did Shrooms recently, so keep an eye out for
probably
that.
out tomorrow or Monday, but up.
News! Yes, Ven.
GOG Galaxy. Truly gamer friendly, unless you're on Linux, because fuck you, that's why. DRM free on, don't everybody forget about that. We did the DRM thing a couple of months back. How bad? Gaming platform. Currently requires Mac OS X 10.8 or newer, also available for Windows and soon for Linux. Yeah.
It is a fantastic way to install your wine games. Finally, Lutris has some competition in that regard.
Yeah, the one thing that actually pissed me off was in the FAQ. Point 9 says, will you release a Linux version of GOG Galaxy? A Linux version of our client is planned eventually, but we don't have an expected release date right now. Stay tuned for future announcements. Well, fuck you. Thanks for your Linux support, GOG. Thank you very fucking much.
Yeah, no, GOG Galaxy brought to you by Eon.
I don't know. The idea of it makes sense because one thing that definitely, outside of most of their games, the good old games are semi-recent or wrapped with wine, which are really busted, which we've experienced firsthand. But it would be good to have a client that tied everything together, and let's be perfectly honest with each other, Steam does need some competition because they're kind of like in the category.
GOG also needs some serious update management as well, because, currently if you want to update your GOG game to the latest patch, you have to download the entire fucking thing again, so client would certainly help with that.
Yeah.
But you guys can quit your whining. Cryengine! So we got an update from Cryengine. The latest version coming out which is Cryengine 3.7, which is coming out in an indeterminate amount of time, is adding an OpenGL renderer finally, which means that the long-promised Linux support that was never really delivered in Cryengine is supposedly coming.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you remember a bit back, the guys from Star Citizen were like, there's not really a decent OpenGL rendering path, and we're like, oh, shit, all right. Everyone blame Cryengine. Now, like, get out the bullhorns and like, hey, Cryengine, hello, yeah, ding. but let's not get too happy with it just yet, because one of the quotes, and I want to get this right, you can start planning your Linux ports today. How exactly are you supposed to do that, J-Man?
You can just really start thinking about it. The other thing of note, aside from the fact that this is just a press release, no actual commitment of date, is that the Linux support is only related to the launcher. So it is essentially like a Unity setup where you click export. They do not have any of their development tools ported to Linux, so all your development still has to be done under Windows. It's good stuff.
P-Man, do you think this is like us too? Oh shit, Unreal Engine 4.
That's exactly what it is. Although Unreal has the advantage because they actually have a Linux editor. It's still a bit crashy, but they have it. And like Jordan was saying, if this is anything like Unity, and Unity doesn't have a native Linux editor, that hasn't stopped those quote-unquote developers from publishing their shitty-ass games on Steam with a Linux version. It doesn't always work, but hey, we've been getting it. So
yeah, and you know, Cryengine is one of those professional game development tool engine sweet dealies. So I don't think we're gonna get a Unity Ghetto type setup with this, but certainly people who have produced their games with Cryengine may have, let's call them, barely functional Linux ports. But you know, speaking of Unreal, they have an update as well. They have a preview coming out for Unreal Engine 4.8. Comes with a bunch of new stuff of note. They are adding support for the HTC Vive la France. They have some depth of field improvements, and they've optimized grass rendering. That's lots, and there's been a lot of improvements to existing features. You still, though, cannot compile it on your Xbox One. Shockmunch box.
Yeah, I was looking at the optimization bit. That's interesting because that's something that I'm pretty sure no one in the Unity engine development team ever thought of doing. But I was reading one of the points that it said, motion blur improved to be more realistic. Well, if it's anything like the motion blur that's already out, I'm sorry to inform you, but in real life, your contact lenses don't just pop out of your eyes the moment you start sprinting. Until I see a game do motion blur properly, it's going to be staying off.
Yeah, so again, this is just the preview for Unreal 4.8. That will be in the main line in an indeterminate amount of time. Ven, you got any thoughts on this?
On this, just good to see them staying at it. I mean, we're always going to have these new updates and throwing in the optimizations on their end because the game we played, I forgot the name of it. Like
Stormfront?
White Storm or something like that.
Yeah. Storm United.
Right, and had no optimization done to it whatsoever, and it was still basically playable, so...
multi-threaded like a motherfucker.
Yeah, really looking forward to it, and just, if they can get a tool to where the developer doesn't even have to worry about it so much, and they can feel comfortable hitting export, and like, boom, you actually have a functional game. Good on them, open source, just so much love. I'm going to say it right now, I completely forgive them for Unreal 3 never happening on Linux, even though you promised us, Brad. Yes, you did. Up next!
Hear the cry of the raven in Polish. Yeah. As you can see there, that is a Polish games news website called gamezilla.pl. The link will be in the notes. In its
good
true
luck trying to run it
Polish
through Google
fashion.
Translate too. That produced some interesting English.
Yeah, it's actually passable, all things considered. But yeah, this is the news that apparently the what were they called again?
Reality Pump.
Reality Pump. Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, it's right there on the title. Yeah, Reality Pump was supposedly going into bankruptcy. They had when the news broke out, they said that they had filed to the American equivalent of Chapter 11. So there's a freaking fly flying in front of the webcam. Okay, sorry about that. But apparently that's not the case because there was an update to this news story, which there'll also be a link in the show notes for VG247. They reported that apparently it's not the entire studio.
No, it's not. The developer got back a little bit before that. I think this was like yesterday. He was like, no, what did he say? I said this, articles from stupid editors who did not research any word they write have no influence to development. And, well, all right, you were saying?
I must break you.
VG 24/7 is actually reporting that apparently it's not the entire Reality Pump that's shutting down. Apparently they have Reality Pump itself is divided into a bunch of sub-studios, and only one of them actually filed for bankruptcy protection. So they say that it's like an internal reworking in the article at VG 24/7. Say that that's something that usually happens. To me, that sounds like bullshit. But yeah, apparently it was just one of the sub-studios that applied for that. So we may still get... what was the name of the game, Jordan?
Oh yeah, no. So we're totally not gonna get a fixed version of Raven's Cry. If you bought that game, you poor son of a bitch.
No, but that one that they're supposedly
you're not getting any
porting.
value out of that. But they did say in that same Steam thread, you can check out that link in our show notes, that they are planning a Two Worlds 2 Mac port with a Linux 1.2 follow up. But I'm not gonna hold my breath on that.
I'm not holding
just
anything
yet.
on that, especially considering Raven's Cry. I mean, these guys don't know how to Linux, bro. And
They didn't know how to Windows either, apparently.
fair point.
They didn't know how to game, period.
And that game is still on sale for something like 57 what stinky caches. So
I know that's a flop. But you know, speaking of value for value, this next one is
Actual value. This comes from the Kickstarter page for Wasteland 2, which you may remember that we threw 3 whole chairs at. And the guys at In Exile now say, you're going to get an update to Unity 5 for free, and also everyone that's purchased the game so far is getting the Game of the Year edition also for free. I love these guys.
That's awesome. This is a cool move.
I love these guys.
This is how you get lifelong fans of your fucking development house, is when you pull shit like that. Because people love free things, and if you give them free things, they will forever flock to you with the expectation that they'll keep getting free things. You know, Wasteland 2 was a very high quality game. It was one of the few actually optimized Unity games on Linux. So good on these guys. And it's very, very surprising move from them.
it's turn-based strategy. So
No, it's actually
really?
More like real time.
burn.
Speaking of real time strategy, Heroes of New Earth.
Yeah, this is Heroes of New Earth, which was acquired by... What was the name of the company? Garena. It's actually a service that... It was similar to the All-Seeing Eye. It sort of aggregates a bunch of different multiplayer games and allows you to browse for servers for those different games. But they also have
honestly sounds
a couple
like some sort of STI.
Sort of. They also have some actual games that they're working on in-house. It's a separate studio. It's got a different name, but they have some games from themselves. Mostly they're MOBAs, and now they have Heroes of New Earth. And when I hear a company from Southeast Asia that they have a new MOBA under their wing, and the first thing that pops into my head, because there's not enough Southeastern Asian people dying at internet cafes.
So much racism.
I mean, it's Heroes of New Earth, and such a turgid little tale of this game. It came out and you had to pay some monies for it, and then they're like, oh, but you can unlock all the heroes with buying this pack. Then a bunch of people did that, and the next day it's like, oh, all the heroes are free, fuck you. And everyone went, Dota, screw this game.
Well, you know, they've been supporting Linux for the longest time. Before Steam for Linux was the thing. Actually, I think even before Humble was the thing, they were putting out a Linux client. So, I mean, I guess we still kind of have to root for them. From what I understand, though,
the depends
community is a bit
whether
obtuse.
or not they keep. Depends whether or not they keep the Linux client, because the Southeastern Asian market is not really Linux friendly.
Well, it's all pirated Windows XP, of course.
Yeah.
LGCKs, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, but you know what? It's time for It's time for a shitty Karen Gillan movie, or maybe it's time for Ryan Seacrest. No, it is the Oculus. They are announcing a release period. They're not going to commit to a date. This is the press release from Ars Technica. We also have a link to the official press release from Oculus.com in the show notes. And basically, they're saying we will start shipping units in Q1 2016. They don't really tell you much about the hardware or anything involved with the model that they will ship out. Presumably, it will be something similar to the dev kits that are already in circulation now, probably with some proprietary Facebook click, like, favorite, subscribe, new sauce. But right now, all we got to do is... But now we sit back and we watch the back and forth between Valve and Facebooks.
That's definitely going to be a thing because I really got like the feeling that this was the Steam thing's coming out by the end of this year. Oh shit! And because they've been on Carmack time since this thing started. It'll get done whenever I get done with it, and somebody's like, "You need to get this shit done." But as just a bit of an aside, everyone that I know that has tried the Oculus and has tried the Steam Vive
La France.
Yeah, the Steam version is like, shit, you don't know, man. You can actually walk around in the room, and the way it's set up is kind of curb stomping what is currently available with Oculus. But yeah, competition is good, and hey, like button.
Very good.
I'm just saying.
Like,
and
favorite,
not only is it very good,
shit.
and Valve has actually been on the ball when it comes to VR. Like you guys already mentioned, they have been putting stuff out and say, here's the API, put it in your games. And Oculus has been like, yeah, we're doing things eventually. So yeah, and if Valve maintains the November release for the Steam machines and the VR headset, they're going to beat Facebook.
Well, one thing I would like VR for, that is flight gear. You don't know about flight gear?
That would actually be kind of cool, actually.
That's what I was thinking about just then. Well, what we have here is a preview. Flight Gear 3.6. They got a couple of neat things in here. New user interface, which is much, much welcome. Because every time I fire that up, I just nope out of that nightmare fuel. Houston, the Atlantis has reached orbit in pieces over Texas. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. That's horrible.
No, you gotta grab your burning marshmallow and stick and run around going, wee, I'm the Challenger.
Hate mail. Jordan's back.
Send your
it
hate
now
mail
offers the possibility to take the shuttle into low orbit and back in a highly realistic simulation. Rain on the windshield, that's important. Regional textures for Latin America. New and improved aircraft. So, ooh, that's shiny. New F-15 comes with detailed JSB sim flight dynamics. And a lot of other stuff, and this always comes in at the price of free, but I just had that moment when we were talking about the VR, and I knew the story was coming up next. It's like, possibly, if you could get that FOV.
This one,
yeah.
Euro Truck Simulator 2.
Possibly,
There's actually a couple
train simulator
of games that, there's actually a lot of games that
Surgeon Simulator.
Oh. Yeah, well, it's better than Legend of Dungeon with diorama mode. I don't know. Simulators have always been like this obscure niche of gaming that I have never really gotten into. My brain just doesn't tick that way. But Dick Thomas, fan of ours, he's in Google Plus.
Yes.
He's been on the show once. He's a fan of this type of game, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he plays a lot of X-Plane, and the other day was actually complaining on Google Plus that X-Plane did something that screwed up his files, and he was asking, is there any other flight sims for Linux that could work? Someone call him.
There you go, Dick. There you go. Coming up next, we get goat herpes and throw chairs at them. And we are throwing chairs at GoatZ for the CHAIRQUISITION this week. This is the Goat Simulator Survival Horror DLC. They describe it as, that's right, you found the only survival game on Steam that's not an early access asterisk. You no longer have to fantasize about being a zombie goat in the middle of a zombie apocalypse. Your dreams have finally come true. Asterisk, not totally sure if this is even true. We didn't even bother to look this up, but it's still pretty funny, right? Yeah, it's on the Unreal Engine 3. It's Goat Simulator, if you haven't been following this. Go watch our other two reviews of Goat Simulator, Goat MMO, and just have a good laugh. And of course, as always, we have the CHAIRQUISITION. 1 chair means that it's crap, 2 chairs means that it's meh, 3 chairs means that it's pretty good, 4 chairs means that it's awesome sauce, so awesome that you might even get shipped a box with a brick in it. We also have a category to do mix with looking, shiny sounds, controls, and fun. So let us kick this off for GoatZ, the GoatZ. ZZ Top, then does it make with the working?
Well, does it make with the working? Here on the Ubuntu 1404 LTS, octa-core 980 4K displayed box of business. It did, because I did not even attempt to try to play this at 4K resolution, because as soon as I opened it at 1080p, which I was happened to be on, I was reminded about how horribly unoptimized this game is on Linux. It runs like Goat Simulator on Linux. It's passable. It's not good. So you're looking at, even with a 980, you can get FERPs as low as 20, up to 70. It's all over the place. With the working, for the most part, I mean, you can't judge this game and say, well, I found some bugs in it, and of course it does.
You and everyone else.
Right. But I did have 2 spike crashes, so that was actually a thing. So we're going to have to ding it a chair on that. But one thing I also want to talk about is, because I can't wait for these comments, why are you reviewing DLCs? Because the guys at Coffee Stain Studio don't know how to do DLC, Brad. They don't. Every time there's like, here's DLC, it's a whole new game. And that's what we got. So, 3 chairs for Mix with the Working.
Yeah, at first I cranked everything all the way up to 11, and then I had a shocking reminder. Oh wait, yeah, this game is horribly unoptimized as balls. So you level out at about 25 frames a second at the 4K with everything cranked up. I knocked that down to 1080p. You get closer to like 40, 50, maybe sometimes 60 FPS, but that's on occasion. And sometimes you'll just do something that the engine cannot handle. Like, there is a button that says do not press, and if you press it, the game fucks up, and you drop to 7 frames a second, and you gotta quit out of that sucker. But come on, it's Goat Simulator. What can you expect? 3 chairs for Mix with the Working.
Yeah, I actually played this game on the Steam machine because they claim full controller support, so I sat down and I played, and we'll get to that in the controls, but it worked. The Steam machine has a 750 Ti, so it's not exactly a powerhouse, not even compared to the 970. But with everything on high, it was not ultra high, it actually ran decently, like 35, 45 frames per second. It was passable. But one thing I did notice, and there is an SSD on the Steam box, is did the loading times get longer, or is it just me? Because it took a while. I'm like, wait, it's still loading? So for me, I have to give it 3 chairs.
All right, so that's 3 chairs across the board for Mix with the Working. Up next is the shiny and the sound. So Ven, did it infect your eye pussies and ear pussies?
Much poop in. I mean, it's bad. I thought it was just a Linux thing, and I headed over to the form organs, and it was like, so much pop in. I mean, it's unreal. I got the cat badge because I went up the side of that building that takes like 15 to 20 minutes to go up this little side rail. And then you look down, you can't even tell what's what. And that I would excuse, but even when you first start off and you're running in, you're like, boom, surprise beach ball, boom. Like, you need to fix that. And there's no way to really adjust the draw distance. I mean, I got it all the way, everything on 11 at 1080p because I got a 980. But it looks like Goat Simulator. I spent most of my time talking about, I'll talk more about this in the fun section, in the pre-zombie outbreak, but in the post-zombie outbreak, you get the zombies, and you got to love zombie elephants with bumper cars on their back shooting fire out of their trunks. I mean, that by itself was like, okay, that looks nice. The artistic vision, the inspiration, if you will, of what that's supposed to look like, I felt they really captured it. Soundtrack's always decent. I mean, you can cut it up, and there's like some mock country tunes, some mock wub wub wub. It's there. You might want to put something else on as you're wreaking your goaty mayhem all over the place. But yeah, I liked it, so I'll give that 3 chairs.
Part of the charm of Goat Simulator period is the fact that it's like the visuals just don't plain work. Things will not render properly. You'll have clipping, but it's the way it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be this busted ass, crazy, insane, balls to the walls game. Yeah, the music is kind of there. I don't really. I was more paying attention to what was on screen, and yeah, no, I did the zombie elephants too. That was fun. But yeah, I mean, it looks passable. It looks like an Unreal 3 engine game in 4K. It looks like an Unreal 3 engine game in 1080p. I can't really ding it much because basically everything's intentional. So 3 chairs on that front. It does what it set out to do on the tin.
Yeah, with the MMO simulator thing that they released a couple of months ago, it used to be colorful and you used to be able to wreak some havoc with all the charm and all the usual stuff in Goat Simulator. Now, with GoatZ, it's dark brown, post-apocalyptic.
It's like they didn't call it MMO Simulator this time.
No.
But yeah, it used to be colorful. It had some charm. Now it doesn't. But that's a personal issue. I mean, it's still a Goat Simulator. Yeah, Van and Jordan already touched on most of everything. The soundtrack's still there. Can't really think of a chair for that. So for me, I'm going to have to give it 3 chairs for shiny and sounds.
All right, so that's 3 chairs across the board for shiny sounds again. Up next is Control. This is going to be a short one, isn't it?
This is going to be incredibly short. You're going to want to play this. Maybe it works with your steering wheel, but the same difference it might work with your control organ. I don't know. For me, the only proper way to goat is with a keyboard and a gerbil. It just works. No issues. I mean, it works like Goat Simulator. Nothing really to like relearn and get used to, except you're pressing the one button to barf out your zombie goaty goodness, which works. No issues whatsoever. But then again, I'm only talking about with a keyboard and a gerbil. So 4 chairs.
All right. Yeah. No. Not really much else to say. Yeah. It's your standard WASD. It's Goat Simulator. If you, it is the controls of every single PC game ever, and if you, yeah, 4 chairs. I mean, there's not really much to say else about that. No. Don't even
I
bother.
actually did try with the PS2 DualShock, which is currently all the way over there, plugged into the Steam machine, and it worked. I had to use Xbox DRV to emulate it, but I have set that to run at boot, so I don't even have to worry about it. And I just picked up the controller, moved around, kicked a few things, turned some people into zombies, and actually spent most of my time in the house in front of where you start, which it's like the coffee stain studio, and you see all the negative messages just going by. So yeah, for controls, it gets 4 chairs.
All right, so that's 4 chairs for controls. That was easy. And our final subjective category, fun. Then did you have fun?
Brother Sving, all right, let's face some facts. The survival game, the actual zombie after the apocalypse, I mean, is complete rubbish. I don't think anyone said, man, this is fantastic. Having to eat like every 20 seconds, and I guarantee you, they did the maths of how much does a goat require to eat in a day. Then they shrunk it, proportionally to how long a day is in the game. And I almost want to say that's exactly what you need to do to continue with your goatiness. But that is just annoying. But it does add a genuine sense of urgency where you're trying to fend off the zombies and all that. And you're like, oh, crap, I need to go find a piece of cheese or a cake. Or screw this person, he looks like he has food. But being able to play pre-outbreak in that city, that whole new level makes up for everything, because you get a whole new level of goat fucking aroundness, and it's awesome. It's amazing. I knew it maybe 15 minutes in, just doing your general derping about. I rounded a corner, there was the cook van. All right. It was there from Breaking Bad, and it was like, oh, finished the cook achievement, then the goat got the pork pie hat and the shades. There's done, $4.99, well spent. Nothing to say about that. So, if you want to try out the zombie thing, the one thing I did try with the zombie thing, there is a thing in the workshop that will give you infinite health, and you don't have to eat, and you damage, and it'll regenerate. That sucks the point out of the zombie survival thing. And there is crafting, but it was kind of thrown in there. It's like, haha, crafting, lols. So, but there might be some very interesting things to craft that we just don't know about. So, I'm going to say 3 chairs. I think pretty solid all around. I got my money's worth out of it. For $4.99, Heisenberg alone. Done.
Yeah. No, I had the crazy transformation too. I somehow unlocked the Frankenfurter achievement, and so I played through the zombie campaign as the microwave, because why the fuck not? Because you can throw all the GOAT MMO modifiers in there too, and you could be like a microwave zombie mage thing. I chose the zombie mage with the Fusro Da, because that's always the best way to go around. You just point it at the ground. Woo! Anyways, so I found myself a pair of high heel shoes. And I also got a top hat from putting people in a wizard's cauldron. So I was a zombie high heel wearing, top hat wearing Dova microwave. It's brilliant. I love it. It's always fun to wreak havoc in the new city. And it's still delightfully busted. You go to like the island that's under construction, and just like nothing fucking works. You can wall jump on the air. It's brilliant. Yeah. I did run into something cool. If you jump off the mountain and into the mountain, you can glitch through and hit a secret room where there is a glitch that you can headbutt and infect, and it turns into a zombie, and you can't get out of it. You have to actually restart the game. For the actual gameplay, the survival horror stuff, I mean, it sort of defeats the purpose of GOAT Simulator, where you're trying to include a point to a game that ultimately amounts to let's fuck around and break shit. I tried it for about 20 minutes in zombie apocalypse mode. It's weird. It's really weird playing GOAT Simulator with hit points. But going around pre-outbreak mode, just seeing the kind of crazy shit they throw in there, because the guys at Coffee Stain are completely fucking mental. It's great. I certainly had fun with it. I'd give it 3 chairs.
Yeah, but the big thing about this DLC is that it's the post-outbreak. Is they're trying to parody the endless stream, or seemingly endless stream, of zombie survival games coming to Steam. And Morgan's maxim actually goes like, any sufficiently advanced troll is indistinguishable from a genuine kook. And
Poe's Law.
for the unwashed masses out there, this is Poe's Law, and it's basically you can only parody something to the point where you become exactly what you're trying to parody. And the MMO sim actually got away with it because it was so over the top, it was so blown up. It worked. It actually went all the way past Poe's Law. But this just looks like exactly what they're trying to parody. I get that it's the point, but you can't really call it parody anymore if you meet all the requirements to be labeled as what you're actually parodying. For me, I didn't really have fun with this one. Like I said, I spent most of the time just looking at the negative comments that they had in the Coffee Stain Studio house, and yeah, I got my kicks out of that. But when it comes to the fun, I'm sorry, 1 chair.
Alright, apparently Pedro doesn't understand Poe's Law. Anyways, that's 2 chairs for fun. Tally that up. We got a 3-chair game with GOAT MMO. Or not GOAT MMO, GoatZ. So, I guess we should also technically tally this with GOAT Simulator's other scores. It still remains a 3-chair game. You can actually pick, I think you can still pick up the game for free, or not for free, the game with the DLC for free. Isn't that right?
The MMO DLC is still free, yes.
No, the GoatZ DLC, or some heavily discounted thing. I don't know. It's
44% off until May 14th.
Yeah. Okay, so that's still pretty good. You got a couple days. By the time this episode comes out, you will have 4 days left to get on that. So that wraps up GOAT Simulator, GoatZ. I think we beat this dead goat enough. Any final thoughts?
Pick it up. It's worth $4.99, even at that price. And to everyone who is just went mental in their forums, bitching about how dare they charge money for DLC, and I was like, okay, maybe a bad time to release DLC. I got you on that, bro. But for $4.99, they put a lot of work in this. So how can you hate on the GOAT, man?
How can you hate on the GOAT?
Pedro will tell you. Up next.
Oh yeah, no. Coming up next, we whine and whine some more. Then we talk about CMOS for a bit. It's fascinating stuff.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's the end of the show, and it's personally my favorite segment. It's the hate mail. And as usual, if you'd like to get in touch with us, go on over to LinuxGameCast.com. Push the contact button on the navbar. Fill out the forum, fill out the CAPTCHA thing, and we'll be happy to feature your message. Unless, of course, you're trying to promote your game or your crowdfunding campaign of some sort. If you are, either give us some keys for Steam Early Access, for GOG, for Desura, for Humble, wherever your game is at, give us some keys for it, or at least send us a build of your game. Call it an alpha, call it a beta, call it a prototype, call it whatever the fuck you want. We just want to play your game, because if we can't play your game, and you still send us an email trying to promote it, we'll probably make fun of you. But this week, we have some sort of genuine hate mail from Bob.
Bob says, not to be pedantic, but do you realize that you're using POL? A wrapper that is frowned upon on the Wine HQ website. So perhaps you want to be a little bit clearer in that description, i.e. using wine is totally not accurate.
Exclamation point, exclamation point, hashtag exclamation point.
Yeah, so
Hashtag
I actually
Doritos.
replied to Bob directly on the comment that he left. And I will just elaborate a little bit more, because do you know why Wine HQ actually does not recommend, or let's say hates, Play on Linux? It's because Play on Linux is a free alternative, and some may argue just as competent as Crossover. Crossovers and their profits revert back in favor of Wine. POL doesn't charge people, so the Wine HQ doesn't get anything out of it. That's why they don't like it.
I don't know. That might be a little bit conspiracy sauce, but I can definitely see where you're coming from. I didn't know that there was two camps. I used to use Wine Tricks because Play on Linux used to be complete rubbish. Absolutely, they did. Then they tried the whole port my game thing, and they wouldn't let me upload the Windows version of Witcher 2. And I was like, well, that's useless. But unlike the guys at Crossover, who actively promote porting service, can't really fault them for trying, but I hope nobody takes that deal. It used to be Crossover Games. It had a funky name for a while. Can't remember it. Apparently nobody else.
No, you're thinking Sidega? That was a different thing.
Yeah, Sedega was a different one.
Right.
Yeah.
But, you know, Crossovers, always, I mean, they're good people, they do good work, but how can you hate on something that makes wine easier to use?
And literally, that's all I used it for. This came from the comment. This was a comment on the how-to that I did with the Elder Scrolls Online, and I'm sorry, Ven, for the audio quality. That was on me. Don't blame Ven. He actually did the best anyone could ever do. But I literally only used it to create and manage a little wine prefix to get the game separate from the system version of Wine. And it was, while it was still using the system version of Wine, it was in a completely different prefix, so it wouldn't influence anything else that you may have installed. That was literally it.
And yeah, I do like it because I'm working on another wine how-to, and we'll talk about why we're doing that a little bit later, but I went, okay, Play on Linux, I need to install Steam, I'm going to download the latest version of Wine and put it in this little bottle. And normally with Wine Tricks, you download that, then you want to like, okay, well, I need to download the DX9 and all this, direct input. Just out of curiosity, I started this thing because I had to do some extra work on it. That's going to be in how-to, that's why we're making one. and the game fucking started. I mean, it had everything out the door, so they might be fringe, but they're doing good work, and they're not charging anything for it. So direct your hate sauce somewhere, like virtual programming.
Yeah, there's a good place.
All right.
Yeah. So up next is from Rudy B, and he is whining some more, and he says, "Since when does LGC peddle heretic purchases? (-P). I too do not like P in my colon.
I'm telling you, man, that's definitely an epidemic that we're trying to squash, especially in third world countries. But, well, actually, me and J-Man talked about this last night. Here's the dice, Brad. If one how-to, I mean, there's genuinely people out there that are like, okay, man, I use Linux, but there's like this one game, like these two games that I want to play, and they're never going to see a native port. And if they could get it up and running in one, and it worked well, then they're going to spend more time on Linux, and they're going to vote on the Steam surveys and all that. Now, I understand there are the people that say, if Game X comes out, I'll quit dual booting, and they're filthy fucking liars. Anybody who says that's lying. Because as soon as that game comes out, they're like, well, if Game Y comes out, then I'm super serial this time. And they're not. So that's why we're going to start doing some wine how-tos, and it's not really a heretic purchase if you have to buy it, and these are games that we have access to.
If you already own the game, that's what it was.
Exactly. Yeah. So, just trying to help out the community, Brad. Don't hate the players.
And I specifically said, do not purchase The Elder Scrolls Online if you're a Linux user. It's far too expensive for something that does not support your platform. That's it.
Exactly. I mean, wine is a stopgap measure, but if it gets people over, we've never had any problem with wine. We've had problems with virtual programming. Beyond.
And we've had problems with people attempting to sell a wine bottled game as a Linux release.
Right.
That's not cool. But if you actually do own the game, because a lot of people switch later into their PC gaming careers. They like, oh yeah, I like this Linux stuff. They try it, they like it better than Windows. So I mean, I don't see the issue with it. I'd say maybe close to 40% of all my games are Windows, and it's nice to be able to play them on Linux at all, period.
Oh, hey, it's Empathetic Chaos again.
Back again.
That's a big wall of text.
What does
Summarize
it. Give us the cliff notes, Pedro.
So, yeah, you may remember Empathetic Chaos. He was the guy that was... in a previous comment, he said that because of how Valve handled the paid mods thing, that now the PR shitstorm around it would cause people to not purchase the Steam machines. And we kind of debunked that, and now he's back and he said, yeah, I should have probably clarified that a bit more. PC gamers are, as they say, fickle when they get screwed over, and he goes on a rant saying that because of that, and the Steam machines relying basically, in his opinion, on word of mouth, that now PC gamers will not be purchasing Steam machines. But guess what? They weren't going to anyway. They already have PCs that can play their games. At most, they would buy the teeny tiny Steam Links. Those were the ones that they would always get. Yeah, and the Steam controller, obviously. But at the very last paragraph, he says, I also agree with Ven when he says that he doesn't think a lot of people will buy Steam machines. Precisely. But maybe if there's a lot of cases like his, where word of mouth causes a lot of interest in Steam machines, there might be. We can only hope that it works out to that, so that we can have more quote-unquote properly ported games on Linux.
And by that, he means Eon-ported games, like Bioshock Infinite,
apparently.
and Spec Ops The Line, and The Witcher 2, and possibly Saints Row the Fourth, which would make me really, really sad.
Yeah.
But
And on that bombshell, let's cue the music. You can always find us live around 9:30 EDT. Soon it will be EST. Who knows? Spin the dial. I'm Vin Stone, at Vin Stone on the Twitter nuts, plus Vin Stone on G+, baby.
I'm Jordan Svung. You can find me at The Burning Fool on Twitter, plus Jordan Svung on the Google Pluses.
I am Pedro Mateos. You can find me at Unaccounted For on Twitter or plus Pedro Mateos on Google+.
And just remember, at the end of the day, beautiful party people, I believe in miracles.
Where are you from, you sexy thing?
You sexy thing, you.
And that'll give people nightmares.
Oh god, I
show
had a dream. I was having sex with someone, and then it was Pedro!
Talk about falling asleep to a podcast and waking up in nope sauce. Oh.
Well, to be fair, that's what Nori has to deal with every night, so...
Fair point.
5 dudes.